Hello! So in the last video I went through putting together the upgrade in a very rough and ready form. So I put everything in the case, wired it up, tested it out, benchmarked it, and everything passed with flying colours. Now this video is shot on my mobile phone and I'm going to go through the mods that I did to get everything where I wanted it and how basically I finished the build off. Hello! So here it is, the final update on the PC upgrade, and this is it finished and cable managed and modded. So in here we've got the new motherboard 6700K and the Corsair 100i V2. That's the water cooler, and that was one of the mods that I had to do. So you've probably seen in the still images earlier that the radiator was under there, but now the fans are under there. Now that was because the radiator wouldn't fit in the top under the cover, so I've had to hacksaw a bit off the cover to get the radiator to fit, but we'll have a look at that in a moment. The other mod I've done is moved a hard drive tray up into the 5¼ bay, because that gives me a bit more airflow down here, so that fan is now not obstructed and goes towards the graphics card, because you can see the graphics card pretty much cuts the case in half. So I'm trying to manage the cooling this area and cooling this area as two separate bits. So up here, this airflow fan is now blowing into the case, and those two fans are blowing out of the case. So that basically creates a fresh air loop there that puts air through the radiator up above. These two, because there's one tucked behind there, airflow fans are blowing into the case. We've got the fans on the graphics card, which aren't actually doing anything because there's no load on the graphics card, so it's not hot enough to keep them in. They blow air into this bottom section, and there's a massive 240mm fan on the side of the case which pulls the air out. So those two 120s go in and the 240 pulls out. So basically two different zones, top of the case, bottom of the case. And that's why I shifted the little bay that was on top of there into there. So I can still fit hard drives, there's still space around that hard drive to get the airflow to it, rather than trying to cram them all three into there, because otherwise that hard drive would sit on the bottom of the case and not really get much airflow. So that was the solution I came up with. Other than that, pretty much everything is the same, except there's no sound card in here anymore, because this motherboard has got a really good onboard sound processor, so I'm just using that. So if we have a look at the top of the case, you see it now fits flush, and that's because I cut out the central strut that ran across this mesh cover. This new radiator is thicker than the H100 radiator it replaced, and with the central strut still attached, when you put the lid on, it wouldn't sit flat. So what I did was cut out that central strut, so the radiator now doesn't block the top from going flat. and it is actually a lot quieter. If you have the radiator in the top and the fans underneath, it's a lot quieter than having the radiator underneath and the fans at the top, because the radiator muffles the sound of the fans. Those are static pressure fans, so they don't mind actually which way round they go. So underneath, pushing air through the fan and out, not the fan, through the radiator and out the top of the case is the quietest way of doing it. I did have them in the top, as you've seen on some of the photos, and it was a lot noisier. You can hear the noise levels of the case because it's running. It's not under load. It does get a bit noisier, but I've got the H100 V2 set to quiet mode, the same as I had on the H100. On the H100 you had to do it by pressing the button on the front of the pump. This one you can do it through Windows, so you can change it over to whatever mode you want. It's got a balanced and performance mode as well, and the balanced is noisier than the quiet, and the performance is noisier than the balanced. So this seems to be a good compromise. The processor never really gets that hot, even when I was benchmarking it. As you can see, one of the reasons everything is so quiet at the moment is because they're just sitting there not doing anything, because there's no heat going through the graphics card. So that is the insides of the upgraded PC. And here you can see my attempts at cable management at the back. So it's nice and neat at the front, but it's pretty neat at the back as well. Now you've got sort of the unused cables. Well, there's a Molex there which does pretty much nothing but power the fan controller in the front of the case. Got the 8-pin that goes off to the motherboard, main power, drives. But when you were looking from the front, did you notice this weird bit of plastic which is taped in there? So that is actually a piece of a DVD box cut up, and from the other side it's matte, from this side it's shiny, but it's basically there just to hide the cables, because there's a gap there where the drive bay was. That bit of plastic basically means you can't see any of these cables and cable ties and things from the front. But there you are. I've actually cable tied up all my cables, done a bit of cable management, and the side panel actually fits without hearing cables crunching and things. So that's it. That's the back of the case. Well, the back side of the case, you know what I mean. Right, so that's it. That's my upgraded PC in all its glory. So pretty much everything that's in there now, apart from the case and the power supply, is less than a year old. So hopefully that'll do me for another 3 or 4 years. Thanks for watching.